Welcome back to the show, everyone. If you hang out with our next guest, you are going to learn some things not only about what's going on in your city, but around the world, too.
Absolutely. Kris Krug is joining us now. He's a photographer, web strategist. He's a teacher now, too, and also author of a great book. How are you, Kris?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Teacher, professor, do you?
I struggle. I don't know. I go with teacher. Yeah, professor doesn't quite feel right.
Oh, no, I'm calling you professor today.
Professor Krug. What have you been teaching? You're doing some really interesting things at a few different locations.
Yeah, Emily Carr just opened a new Center for Interactive and Social Media, and so I'm teaching some of the first classes there. I'm teaching photography for social change and also video for the web.
Is it an easy thing to teach social media, or do you just have to encourage people to get out there and do it?
It definitely takes like the getting under the hood and getting your hands dirty type attitude to be successful in it. I think the hardest part about teaching it is that it changes all the time. So you have to walk into class and be like, here's the interesting things that are on my radar screen, let's explore them together, you know? And then you're not going to teach the same thing 6 months from now.
I was going to say, you'll never run out of topics to discuss. I mean, it is changing the way that we communicate, visually, physically, mentally.
There's some pillars, right? There's YouTube and Google and Twitter, a few of these pillars, and then all the stuff around it is kind of constantly in flux and also adapted to the particular interests of like the students.
Yeah. And you had a really interesting gig since the last time we spoke with you. You were working for National Geographic. What was it that you were doing?
I went down to Louisiana to document the BP oil spill, and I got a blog about it on National Geographic.
That must have been shocking to see that up close.
Yeah, I went down there like as a grand adventure, kind of like, you know, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and just kind of had my world rocked once I got there. It was a lot like I imagined how shooting a war zone would be or something like that.
Is it ever difficult, because you find yourself in situations like this, to document, and I know you're a hands-on kind of guy, I know you like to get involved. Is it hard to maintain a distance, or do you try to maintain a distance?
You know, I think that what is kind of characteristic of the new online storytelling medium is that, you know, my personality can be embedded into that, and that's kind of what people are looking for. I think, you know, it stands in contrast to maybe more broadcast style stuff where it's like one size fits all. Well, it's okay for me to have a little of my personal story.
Well, and people will go to those sources if they want that kind of journalism.
Absolutely, yeah. It rounds out the whole media ecosystem.
We want to talk about a lot of stuff that's going on in Vancouver. The first thing that we're going to speak about is called Web Not War. What is this?
Yeah, there's this really cool conference coming to Vancouver that I'm getting involved with. I'm doing some photos and stuff, and it's put on by Microsoft, but it's novel enough that to bring up, like, so Microsoft in the 90s got a bad reputation as kind of the evil empire through
just a little bit.
Yeah, unethical, monopolistic business practices.
Freeze everybody out of the market.
Absolutely, right? Well, they realized that was not a good move for their brand in the big picture. It kept them from hiring the best talent and really kind of being competitive in the big internet world. So Web Not War is kind of their attempt to bridge that gap. It's an open source plus Microsoft conference. It's put on by Microsoft, but even if you're not a Microsoft evangelist or Microsoft person, they're really trying to like reopen the dialogue, kind of endear themselves to the rest of the internet community that's not Microsoft specific.
Well, they must have looked at it from a consumer standpoint, because very few people limit themselves to just one operating system. People mix it up all the time now.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, let's talk about Vancouver Biennale, the public art thing that's happening. People seem to be confused by this. They don't get what it is.
It's a great conversation.
It is confusing, right? The name is an Italian word, Biennale. It means an art festival that we have every 2 years. But it's worth like trying to figure out and tune into, right? Because there's all these amazing sculptures taking place all over the city. Some of them are, high art, fine art, and a little bit more inaccessible. And then some of them are very accessible to people.
This is Miss Mao on Lenin. This is so cool.
This is stunning.
This was a very controversial sculpture. This was dropped off in Richmond. It was part of the Richmond part of the Biennale. And the title is Miss Mao trying to poise herself atop Lenin's head.
That's going to create some political conversation.
It absolutely has. I mean, it absolutely has. The beauty of things like the Biennale is they start to bring up these issues in a kind of a safe way. So we have a large Chinese immigrant population living in Richmond. These issues are really close to their heart, and so it's been a great conversation.
Well, and it's been fascinating to watch it grow and become part of the city, and it's been very, I hate using a term like this, but it's been very organic. They've been very patient with the growth process.
Yeah, I think this is the third iteration of it now, and we're gearing up for our April Gala event, where a lot of art collectors from around the world are going to come in, peruse all the sculptures and eventually buy some.
Really
Love
cool.
it.
Okay, let's talk about Northern Voice. I
Yeah.
didn't know that this has been going on for so long.
Yeah, it's our 7th year. Northern Voice is really cool. It's like a grassroots, very Canadian blogging conference. Last year we had like 600 people there, and it's all about like personal blogging. So, you know, a lot of the other blogging conferences you go to, it's like how to make money online or how to get 1 million people subscribed to your blog. This is not that. This is like, so your ski team wants to run an online community. You know, like, here's some tools and how to do it.
That's really cool.
Well, and what I always read, because you know, Twitter kind of lights up when it comes around, is fascinating presentations that aren't necessarily about the technical aspect, but about the personal stories.
That's right. That's exactly what it is. So yeah, it's a lot about how much of myself should I share in my blog? What happens when a troll comes and criticizes me? How do I deal with this? Should I put my kids' pictures on my blog? All these kind of questions that, as we move into a new digital world that are coming up.
Well,
for
people really want to know,
Yeah,
and they really don't
fascinating
know where to
conversations.
turn to find the answers for that or create the
So
conversation.
Northern Voice is $25. We had 600 people last year. Super low barrier to entry. Anyone who's interested in the internet, has a Facebook, you're probably going to be interested in
And
it.
Kris,
like it.
this is an old-timey thing called a book that you have written, and it's about taking photos for iPhone. How timely do you have to be with this? Because this is about apps, it's about all sorts of stuff. As we were talking about, stuff changing pretty much daily.
Yeah.
How hard was it to put together this book?
It's a moving target, but you just got to put your stake in the ground somewhere, and this book is done really well. So it's a mix of like, you know, 1/3 of the book is like photo 101, so how to take better pictures compositionally, you know, with lighting and stuff like that. You know, another third of it is like the workflow, like how do you get photos from here to there, and then
We're looking at one right
online.
now.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Oh yeah, this is just like, I brought this one because, you know, most people, when they take a photo, everything is lit.
Yeah.
And you know, the neat part about this one is like most of it's black and faded out, and it pulls the spotlight right onto the kind of blue chair.
Really draws your eye.
Yeah, so you know, I try to encourage people, like, not everything has to be properly lit all the time. You know, use light to bring focus to a particular thing.
Stunning photos.
Reflections are my favorite. These are all iPhone photos, right?
That's
So
crazy.
reflections are my favorite. This is my girlfriend, Fierce Kitty, driving the car to Banff, and I'm just taking a photo of her in the rearview mirror.
Really cool.
So whether it's like puddles here in Vancouver or reflections on metal or glass, it really makes for an awesome, awesome picture.
And this is great too.
I brought this one because, you know, a lot of times with these new iPhone apps, they have all these cool effects, and we just use the effect without thinking much about it. Well, this one is kind of like a retro effect combined with kind of like a retro looking Canadian Pacific train.
Yeah.
And the converging lines, you know, pay attention to lines and geometry in your photos. It's a great way to kind of add visual interest to what's
And
going
really
on
quick,
there.
what are some of your favorite apps for iPhone right now for photography?
Yeah, my favorite effects app is called Camera Bag. It's an oldie but a goodie. It's got dozens of cool looking effects. My favorite kind of like social media ones, there's one called Instagram. It's a lot like Twitter, but instead of, you know, tweets, you have photos.
Cool.
And one called Path.com as well. You should check out. It's brand new, and it's kind of like online storytelling through iPhone photos and stuff.
Very cool. Kris, always a pleasure to catch up with you, and you can follow him on Twitter, of course. He's a fascinating guy, traveling around the world all the time, and he's always got interesting
Yes, and you
things
can go to
say.
his website to find out all the information about what we were speaking about today.
Very nice.